Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OPC Season 2. I'm AVRL. Joining with me this evening, Pixie is about to head into the second match of the evening. AHQ now taking on Machi.
And this is a pretty interesting one. These are two teams that, having been in Season 1 together and were actually quite close to one another in terms of the standings, had a lot of close showings, close performances. Season 2 has kind of driven a wedge between these two teams. We've now got AHQ, who are holding on to some higher placements and are now looking really resurgent, coming up against Machi, who are actually now going to be fighting to avoid relegations.
The two teams both have a lot to play for here. Before we get into the action, we have a pre-match interview from both the coaches, Nito representing AHQ, Cassis from Machi. I feel like AHQ is a very strong team, but we're still going to give it our best and win today.
那因为最近其实就在前几个礼拜，其实战绩不如意。那我们现在其实在战绩来说，其实蛮危险的啊。就是在每一场如果有机会真的有一个意外的话，其实我们会很有机会连季后赛进不去。所以接下来每场比赛基本上应该都是大招全开了，所以就是该打都会打。对。
From Nito's side, he's saying the standings have been rather volatile in the past couple of weeks. Our position in this tournament is still not determined just yet. It still feels quite dangerous for us at any stage. If we make the wrong move, if we make a mistake and we lose, our position in the top 4 is in jeopardy.
Well, at least he's aware of the situation, aware of the ground he stands on, and that's the reality here. Look, Machi, yeah, fighting to avoid relegations. That means they want to pick up a win here at all costs. They need to pick up wins where Mega Thunder don't, and they also need to beat Mega Thunder in the head-to-head. That's going to be key for them avoiding relegations. But them picking up a win here would mean AHQ suffer a loss, and that makes it that much harder to fight blank for that 4th place spot. Because the reality is, with Hong Kong Attitude, now that extra win ahead of AHQ, it's actually a little bit hard to catch them without strictly beating Hong Kong Attitude as well as everyone else. And even then, you rely on Hong Kong Attitude to not just go ahead and beat Flash Wolves when those two teams play tomorrow. So for AHQ, this is as much of a must-win as it is a can't stand to lose.
And for both the teams, the stakes are quite high there. You've already mentioned for Machi Esports, they need to avoid the bottom 2 here. But for AHQ Esports, like Nito has already mentioned, the positioning for them on this table isn't quite set in stone. At any stage, a loss can put them in 5th place, can put Blank Esports back in 4th place. So they're really trying to battle it out here now because Hong Kong Attitude are starting to get away from them. They're 2 wins ahead of AHQ right now, who in 4th place are not determined to finish the season in the top 4. Now let's go meet the teams. We're going to start things off with AHQ Esports Club with Dizzy on the offense, Kerry's on support, Hihi on flanks, Crappy on support, Erican on tank, and Rapid on offense as well.
And of course, coming up against them is going to be Machi Esports, also hailing from Taiwan with No Talk on the flex, Kiyomi and Resty are their 2 supports, D-Crown their main tank, and Nuns and Kant as their offense players. And I mentioned that they hail from Taiwan because there is this kind of thread of commonality that's existed between these two teams and also Flash Wolves as well. These organizations, as it is, are mainstays of esports in Taiwan across all sorts of games. They have rivalries that run deep. There isn't as strong a rivalry specifically between these two teams, but the reality is across Season 1, they all took wins off one another, and by the end of it, Flash Wolves were on top, AHQ were in the middle, Machi, unfortunately, were 3rd among those particular teams, and also ended up kind of split apart from the other 2 by Hong Kong Attitude, who were able to wedge into 4th place. So there's this thing now with AHQ being resurgent. Machi do not want that gap to get wide. You don't want to be that one Taiwanese team that couldn't cut it in OPC. That's why it's so important that they avoid relegations, because there is always the threat that if you go in, you don't come back out.
And it's interesting you bring up the rivalries between the Taiwanese organizations as well, because AHQ are riding a wave of success, at least in most recent weeks, because they did beat their closest rivals, which are the Flash Wolves. And now going up against Machi, you've got to be a little bit concerned if you're on the Machi side, because you are playing against this AHQ team now, who are looking so good, who are looking better than they've ever been before. And for Machi, they're sitting in 7th place. Unfortunately, you've got to think this is probably the worst they've ever looked.
And that's
debatably.
Debatably. Well, and fairly so.
At least in this season.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well, is actually what it speaks to is just the relative improvement of every single team in this tournament, right? The fact that even the lowest teams in the tournament right now are teams that were actually in the middle of the pack last time around in Season 1. That's the situation that Machi are in, right? The unfortunate thing is the really significant change, at least regarding them, is they do seem to have slipped behind what was formerly Fireball from Season 1 in the form of Mega Thunder, who they had stayed ahead of consistently throughout Season 1, no matter how many losses they themselves picked up against the likes of AHQ and Flash Wolves and Blank, etc., etc. So the fact that they've just had that one little extra slip down is what's landed them here in 7th place. And like I said, fighting to get out of it, they have to overcome AHQ here, and that's not something they've done for a very, very long time, not since the first round robin of Season 1.
It's a very difficult place to be in for Machi Esports, and AHQ make it just a little bit more difficult as the home side here. They will get map picks 1, 3, and 5. That is the first control, the assault in the middle, and the hybrid right at the end. And for Machi Esports as the away team, they'll get map picks 2 and 4, the hybrid in the middle, and the escort to the right there as well.
And that's pretty significant as well. I mean, we talk about the encroaching significance of this home and away. When these teams have been able to run quite close to one another, getting it over the line on your opposing teams, there is again opponing of your opponent's home side pick, or their map pick rather, puts you just a little bit ahead of the game. It puts the pressure back onto them. So absolutely picking up that first map win is going to be ideal. It's going to be crucial for these two teams. Now there was something kind of interesting in among there, just in the rosters, that I want to zero in on, and I don't doubt you'll have some thoughts about this as well, and that is the relative tracer play between these two teams. Kant has always been a solid tracer player, but one thing that's been real dynamite for AHQ has been picking up Rapid as a tracer specialist.
And they've had a lot of success so far with Rapid. They've had some interesting runs with them earlier on where it did seem like, similar to where Libin and Supreme now stand with Ryan, a little bit iffy, not quite there in terms of the coordination, but now that we're much, much deeper into the tournament, you've had so much more time to develop this player as a part of the team individually as well. He feels like not only part of the team, but he's a driving force in the team that really pushes them to success.
And opening pick is going to be Ilios as well. This does not surprise me. Not because it's necessarily an AHQ specialty map or anything like that. They have actually been able to beat Blank on this previously. That was in the Season 1 playoffs. The reason I think this is a smart pick is because of the other side of that DPS coin in Dizzy. He's got a nice variety of hit scan, but this is one of those maps where the McCree can really excel if Machi want to pull out a Pharah, which they have done considerably recently. And they've also got a lot more options position-wise with the Soldier compared to some other control maps. I very much like this pick from AHQ.
Actually, Dizzy plays a Pharah too. Let's not forget about that one. When AHQ actually beat Flash Wolves, they started on Ilios, and part of the reason they beat Flash Wolves was on that middle well map where Dizzy pulled up the Pharah. He outclassed Zonda's Pharah. That's part of that reason. Then you got to look at Ruins as well. Dizzy on the Widowmaker outclassed Zonda's Widowmaker. So now going into this map against a team like Machi, Flash Wolves couldn't do it against AHQ. It'll be a big ask for Machi to do it instead.
The other thing we saw with these guys is when they beat Flash Wolves, one of the places that happened in spectacular fashion, actually, was on Ruins off the back of Dizzy on that Widowmaker. So we'll probably see him if we go to Ruins, A, on the Widowmaker, and B, we'll have to see Machi match it somehow.
So the interesting thing for Machi is they would have seen that series, at least you'd expect them to have seen it. We're going to start things on well instead. So now, do you read into the history of what AHQ has run on this map? Do you expect the pharmacy to come out? If so, what is then your response? Is Nun's going to pull out the response pharmacy? Is he instead going to be playing something like Soldier, which we know to be one of his picks? Or instead, you're going to be going for something entirely different, playing the Genji, but it appears so far pharmacy response is what we're going to be looking for.
Yeah, and like I said, Nuns and Kiyomi have themselves quite favored this pharmacy, so this is flat mirror out of both of these teams. We've seen AHQ handle this exact mirror very well before.
But I have to see Machi outperform what Flash Wolves showed against AHQ the first time as well, because mind you, do have to remind everyone that Dizzy was the one that beat Zonda in that pharmacy duel, and once again, we'll be looking to repeat that success.
And this is exactly how they did it. They got the pressure around the outside of the windmill. Nuns is going to make them work for it though, trying to cut them off as they move in to capitalize on the space. They've gained good the rate hit on Dizzy as well. He's got the top off. And this is the situation now where AHQ have started to establish some of the aerial dominance. That's a great pick on Kant as well, so that dominance now translates to the ground game. Nuns now zoned off by Dizzy and even goes down. That's a great rocket hit. And now Kiyomi Kiyomi has got no one off the side there to rescue him. No Talk getting kept at bay, and that gives AHQ the ground and aerial control plus the points.
Actually, for Kiyomi, the dying Gracer is actually you just end up suiciding. You don't feed the kill over to Dizzy. But once again, you mentioned this first of all, controlling the windmill section for Dizzy is so important in the pharmacy duel. They get the angles they're looking for that way. Nuns taken out of the picture rather quickly. I mean, it wasn't a direct thing, but eventually Dizzy found what he was looking for there. The rockets hit, and that was what made the difference.
They're so good at that pharmacy mirror for that opening skirmish. Now, however, the face of the game changes up just a touch, as it's going to become a bit more down to the reses and who gets what with those rocket barrages. Nuns going down though, and Crappy with the tempo res, Kiyomi matching it as well. But in that brief window, Machi are getting aggressed upon because AHQ still had the aerial control, given that Nuns was dead for that brief second. They do lose Crappy in among it though, and Dizzy a little too low to rocket barrage means he's going to end up going down. So Machi going to be able to hold on to that one. It ended up being a bit more expensive than I think they would have liked, but they look to be over this point now.
Oh, not Curious is committed actually. That's a sound barrier.
They're fighting to the last, but they lost Eric the moment that kind of came out. So now it's just these supports and DPSs without the extra mid-ground control of the tanks, and also not properly retreating either. So the point's going to go the way of Machi, and AHQ going to give up a chunk to ult charge as well.
That's a good flip of the script for Machi as well, because they took down Crappy rather early. That was the, I guess, defining factor of what really led that fight to a victory for them. Then Creators decided he wanted to bring it back in order. Dizzy was too low to commit the rocket barrage. That's another difference because Nuns wasn't in that same position. And now with the cap control in their favor, Machi looked to be able to potentially continue swinging this over. The death on cap though might just affect them.
Yeah, it's a really big one because he's a lot of the potential pressure that can come onto Dizzy. But pick on Crappy is a nice one. However, the rocket barrage plus the zoning has given AHQ the control of the point again. And now actually Machi from the back foot already need to kind of take a fight within the next half a minute.
They need to be careful of losing these opening picks as well. That's one of the ones I'm talking about, especially on one such as Nuns with the rocket barrage. Dizzy already came back with that one. Use it to great effects. Use it to make AHQ gain that upper hand against Machi Esports. And now Machi have to be able to do the same thing with both Mercies nearing that res.
I think the real swing here could be that he has a self-destruct where No Talk doesn't, and that's going to zone out Nuns if he can place it right. And with the point now at 99%, they've just got to go. Good catch on Crappy. That is an ideal target, but Dizzy picks up Nuns. Tempo res out, and now AHQ need to convert those kills again. Machi with the sound barrier out have the tempo of the fight on their side. They need to convert the kills, and as they catch carriers and close out on Rapid, that is exactly what they do, looking to get back in control at this point. AHQ may just want to fight to the last, though. Might as well throw out the self-destruct. It zones out, in fact, catches Nuns in mid-air. And now with Crappy rejoining, they will actually have access to a res. They've held on, and now the numbers are essentially even. Let's see if they can convert the kills. If Machi can just get another round of kills, they can still control the point. That's a good start. Picking Eric now. They need to get a few more, and they also need to respect the res, but they demech Hee, losing Kant in the mix. AHQ really holding that res as a threat as they pulse bomb out Kiyomi, and that may just be the swing kill here with that healing off the table. Now they should be able to get control of the fight in earnest.
IHQ, they're still managing to hold on to this one, and Machi Esports, they had a big window of opportunity. That window's starting to close quite rapidly. We are still in the middle of this fight. The res finally comes out a little bit too late. You would have preferred here getting up Eric earlier on, and now this may be finally Machi getting it in.
Rapid was a little low there on the side, and Dizzy got blocked out by that defense matrix, so Machi have kind of held on and stabilized just through Nuns, able to stay alive when it counted, getting Dizzy low, Rapid going down, but now Dizzy's still in the fight. The cap is going to go over, but AHQ going to instantly regroup and keep the pressure on. This may be a mistake. Machi do have the ultimates here.
Machi should be able to use them because AHQ, I kind of already said this, they should be on the back foot, but it doesn't necessarily feel like they're on the back foot, especially with the case of Dizzy taking down Nuns.
No Talk self-destruct out does get Dizzy. It's so hard for the Pharos to avoid that, and that's going to be the window for Machi to now properly stabilize.
They needed that window a lot quicker because they already had it in one of the original fights. It feels like so long ago because we were in the overtime for such a long time, but it was a situation where Nuns used a rocket barrage, took down Crappy extremely early. He then died, but Kiyomi stayed alive long enough to actually get the res on them. That was the opportunity where Machi needed to flip the cap around. All that happened during that entire long engagement was AHQ keeping the overtime going.
Can Pulse Bomb goes wide, but they get a pick on Crappy, which takes the res off the table. Means any response kills may not really be enough for AHQ, yeah. And that's, I think that's a pretty fair enough tempo res. Unfortunately, yeah, like you said, doesn't get canned, but they've still got the aerial control, and with Crappy off the table, they should be able to keep this point relatively locked down, but that's the self-destruct from Hehe to create the space for them to get into the fight. They'll also be able to get the members back in, and that does, of course, include Kant now on the side of Machi. Looking to get the pressure around the point. That's the pick they were after with the rocket barrage. They don't need to get much more than that, and they take No Talk out of the picture as well. Kiyomi too far from the res because he had to use the tempo res earlier, and that means Crappy does have his. Now 99 to 99, and I can't believe we're still on the first map of Elios, but with Kant going down and Nun's too far away, it is going to be AHQ picking it up 1-0.
AHQ did such a good job of surviving in situations that were quite dire for them. Even when they were behind, they managed to stay inside the game. And for Machi Esports, in situations where they have the advantage, they can never really drive it home. Twice now that we see in an overtime scenario you have where Crappy goes down quite early. It could be to Nuns, it could be to any other player. Kiyomi stays alive. He gets to commit the first res while Crappy's respawning. And that needs to be the window where Machi actually win. And they don't win in that window. And that's the really concerning thing, because as soon as Crappy comes back, he then gets to use his res.
Exactly.
And Dizzy and the rest of his crew, they come out on top.
And really what it means is actually AHQ get to come in with that res advantage. And that's an advantage that they can just hold over the heads of Machi. Now out on Lighthouse, which means if it's a 2-0, we don't get to see Dizzy's Widowmaker, but that is if Machi don't win this.
Well, the good news for Machi is they've been keeping the pressure on top of Crappy, so all they got to do is make sure they get that lead and continue it, convert it into additional kills, and actually get the win that they're looking for with that initial pickup. Now for AHQ though, they still have a really good ability to actually, as previously mentioned, keep themselves in the game.
As a big concussive blast onto Eric to knock him off, and unfortunately with no response skills yet from AHQ, Machi get first dibs on the point. If AHQ can convert now, they can keep this one alive for themselves, but I think smartly so just going to wait to regroup, especially since Crappy is low. That means they actually lose the control of this ground in the forecourt here.
And a good win for Machi there, and finally they don't have an extended engagement from AHQ, who typically so far, at least in this Elios match, has liked to continue those engagements despite losing members early. And now it's actually AHQ picking up the first member instead. This is when you got to think AHQ turn on the heat.
It's really big for them, and Ken's kind of forced a little bit off to the side. Now without the tanks alive, he's going to have a hard time getting in to really contest this. Also shy of the pulse bomb, goes down, good follow-up by Eric, and instantly reclaiming all of the ground that they didn't have access to after losing the opening skirmish. AHQ just kind of stormed the fort.
And all they needed to do there was get the picks. They didn't have to use ultimates. Rapid committed. The pulse bomb didn't hit anything. That didn't even matter, because for the rest of AHQ, they just had to find the right players, hit the right damage, mechanically got the aim in there. For Machi Esports, a lot of question marks because they didn't quite have the ultimates to play with just yet, but they lost in the pure ultless fight.
And speaking of pure ultless fight, Machi have the ultimate advantage here. They have it massively so, but they need to get them off, and they need to get them off quickly, because the window is fast closing as AHQ catch up. Oh dear, that takes the pulse bomb off the table.
We might just be looking
Crappy's dead.
Yeah, well, that's again the other thing that's really consistent for Machi now. Where are we going to see this res coming from Kiyomi? What are we going to get out of this? And I did see, okay, that is a sound barrier now for
yeah, that's the commit, and they committed the self-destruct as well, trying to zone out Nuns and Kiyomi, but it didn't work, and now Nuns' rocket barrage gets the work done's where Dizzy's did not, and that should be the point going back the way of Machi now.
Where's Crappy?
Yeah, where is Crappy? He could come in big res, doesn't catch Kerens though, which means they have to still convert kills. He just barely gets back in the mech, but they instantly lose Dizzy anyway. Nunn still has this on lockdown because he rezzed into Machi territory. They still had all that ground control, all that aerial control. They get a few more percentage points on the point itself, but this is now going to be Machi's regrab with the res a long way away.
A good retaliation play from Machi there as well. With Crappy coming in, you gotta be expecting a big res play because you killed Crappy rather early. You then finally committed and converted on the plays you needed to, but Crappy's on his way back. He gets a triple res and Machi clean it up straight away. That is exactly the type of play you want to see out of Machi, who, by the way, are still holding onto their own res. So important. Well, that was a long-range rocket, by the way.
I'm amazed at that. Connected. I mean, it's going to get healed up, so it's not too big a deal. But again, this is the position.
Wow, what is going on?
That's big. This is the position, though, where AHQ did, like I said, storm the fort. But this time they're playing into Kiyomi's res.
It's going to be quite important because HQ is still waiting for they're still waiting for their own ultimates. This is where you got to commit that res.
Huge. The boom from Gary's his counterpart only catches one because one of them was off the edge, and Can dies dies again instantly anyway, rather back to the grave, I suppose. Rocket Barrage from Nuns. It looks pretty, but they can't get much done off the back of it because the members aren't there. Crappy is now back in the driver's seat with the res.
The other problem is Machi didn't have the opportunity to stall there. You wanted to continue that progress, even if you're in a losing situation. You need to hit that 90%, which AHU are going to get now first with Crappy in the res position as well.
That's a huge pick. Again, that self-destruct from D.Va so hard to avoid if you're a Pharah, and that's going to be the tone for the opening fight now, or rather the final fight, as Machi desperately trying to keep the point alive for themselves, but they get booped off the edge in the form of D-Crown. That means even if there were a res, he couldn't come back to life, but the res gets taken off the table anyway as another boop. Keres is on fire with these environmental kills, and another one for good measure, and that's going to be AHQ keeping the point on lockdown for the closing moments here. Machi valiantly trying to contest, but no dice. Similarly close, but slightly less so. It's a 2-0 for AHQ and Ilios.
And Machi had some pretty good moments there onto Lighthouse. Again, better moments than they had onto Well, but it just wasn't enough at the end of the day. This is probably where you're going to see a bunch of those boop kills that were aforementioned, and it makes a really big difference, especially in this overtime scenario.
Yeah, that was massive to get the one on D-Crown initially. By the way, they had already got an opening pick on Nuns before that. Oh, sorry, rather on Cans before that. Then there had been that self-destruct pick on Nuns as Can rejoined the fight. Look, it was 5 versus 6. That is recoverable for Machi. It was an uphill battle, sure, because they needed to get the Mercy off the table as well before getting those kills. But those environmental kills secured it. To get the tanks out of the picture, it just means the members like Cand, who are still in the fight, really cannot get enough work done.
All right, so it's going to be 1-0 now in the lead for AHQs. They take out Ilios, not too unexpected. This was also the map that they won against Flash Wolves, so still looking pretty good on there. The one issue that you got to look at for the AHQ side is Crappy going down at inopportune times. Now, against a team like Machi, unfortunately, Machi didn't really take advantage of that. They didn't have one good fight on the back end of Well, where they got Crappy rather early. He came back in with a triple res. Good plays by Machi to clean up all the members that were res, and that was a big moment for Machi because they had a decent lead there. Kiyomi kept the res for a long time. A bunch of Machi members died sometime after that, and unfortunately the res play wasn't big enough. Let's take a look at Well.
And this is the initial overtime fight where Machi do start to turn it back around. This was really drawn out, but what actually did it for them was there finally kind of came a point where honestly, AHQ were just out of resources. AHQ were able to get themselves in a position here where they had effectively reset the fight for themselves, and were on the cusp of flipping it back onto Machi anyway. With that sound barrier out, they were looking very solid. And then this happens. They get Hihi back, he gets back into the mech. Suddenly, actually the members of Machi have respawned as well anyway, and they're able to convert the kills. Dizzy didn't get enough done. That was the one key ultimate they actually still had to work with. Meanwhile, Machi had actually held the ground, that held the positioning, while AHQ were trying to pull off that res play to even up the numbers. So actually it was off the back of that they ended up behind in numbers. The camp finally goes over. AHQ spent a long time contesting that afterwards. Basically the fight didn't end until finally AHQ at 99-99 were able to properly pull it back around. But the whole way through there, actually Machi were really solid at stabilizing where it counted, but AHQ at the same time were really good at constantly taking a fight where they were behind, bringing it back to an even state to try and close it out there.
Well, that's the start, because you have to really look at what really started that long engagement. It feels like the longest fight in that entire game. It probably was, and that all started with the fact that Crappy went down with the res quite early, or rather close to res. I think he might have been at 95%.
Something like
Kiyomi
that.
then resed back Nuns as well, and that's when they should have been in the lead. And for Machi, it shouldn't have taken that long for them to actually get the cap over. Yes, they sustained well because eventually they were on the back foot, and then AHQ were on the back foot, and then Machi eventually took it over and flipped it over the cap. But it just took far too long.
Yeah.
That should have just been a 10-20 second fight tops. They shouldn't have gone to the amount of time it did go to.
Exactly.
Let's go to Lighthouse now.
And this is what ultimately became the closing fight. So in a repeat performance of what they'd done after the opening skirmish, AHQ just kind of took the ground, and it was off to a terrible start for them, but Oh, sorry, off the retail will start for Machi. And the res was still there, but the only getting canned was what flipped it. Sorry, mucked up the teams a touch there, but basically, they caught the ground, which should have been ground Machi were holding on to. Machi, by not contesting AHQ on the approach, basically didn't maximize what you pick the Pharah for. And because they died in a scattered situation, because some of them were environmental kills, they ended up, much like what happened on Well, behind in terms of that res play, where here, Crappy has it, while Kiyomi doesn't, and they have to keep committing to this fight. They're not even getting kills anyway, and this is where the environmental kills from Rick Carey started to come through to secure the win.
And this is a big swing because this is, you got to, again, look at the start of this replay. What actually happened there? Kiyomi, a bunch of members on the Machi side died. He only got canned out of that. This is after the fact that they had that nice retaliation against Crappy's own res, the triple kill immediately after the triple res. This is where Machi are way ahead. They don't extend this lead. They don't get this lead all the way to a finish line. They don't even make the 99%. I think the Cardinals send right in the middle. That was despite the fact that you only got one res among 4 dead players, is that you didn't try and stall, you didn't hold on to the cap. It got flipped over extremely quickly, and suddenly AHQ, they got your res out, you only got a 1-player res, and then they get the campus off for AHQ. That's a huge win.
And part of that res only catching one person was because of what I touched on there, where they weren't actually making use of the ground they had. They were kind of set up around it, but they weren't set up to control the space to make it hard for AHQ to fight into it. And they were also a little bit too scattered. So AHQ were able to pick them off one by one as they moved in to occupy that space in the forecourt before going to the point. And the players all died too far away from one another to be caught in a single res. But that is now in the past, and Machi get to go to somewhere where they can be just a little bit more favored. They are very solid at these high momentum map modes, and Numbani will be their pick for hybrid.
This has got to be where they start to turn it around as well, because as soon as we do get to the Assault, which is the 3rd game mode, you start to then favor AHQ again. Yes, because it's their home pick, but also because they are a very strong Assault team. So for Machi Esports, the time for a turnaround has to happen now.
And this is where we saw them turn it around against other teams so far. Their series against Mega Thunder, which they did end up unfortunately losing not too long ago. They won hybrid in really solid fashion. I believe it was Numbani specifically as well that they had won. And it was a great showing, right? It was a well-deserved win in a series that they went on to lose. And what that means is actually the pressure is on AHQ here, really. Even though AHQ themselves are good at this map specifically, I feel like naturally the payload-oriented game modes do favor Machi just slightly.
Yeah, that is where we see a good amount of success from this Machi side, and we're getting to a different pacing of map as well, because you would expect probably not to see too much Pharmacy here. Maybe onto A if you're an attacking team. That's an opportunity for you to run Pharmacy again. But AHQ, look, Pharmacy isn't their standard composition. Soldier Tracer actually is. And by the way, both Dizzy and Rapid can still pick up that Doomfist. So we're seeing a lot of flexibility out of the AHQ squad. If you're not beating them on the Pharmacy side, you're now going to a situation where you have to beat them on a more traditional front in terms of compositions.
I'm interested to see what happens on the defense here for both of these teams as well, because we've seen a bit of Pharah out of both of them on the attack. We see a bit of Torbjorn out of both of them on the defense. And one of the strengths of the Torbjorn is spotting of Pharah, get a bit of positioning as well. It puts pressure on her. She's not able to exert as much pressure herself. And it's also not a bad pick against a non-Pharah comp as well. I really do expect to see Crappy on the Torbjorn here, but I don't know that Machi really have the same ability to match it.
I'll have to sort of figure that one out. I know Restia also does play a Torbjorn himself, and it would be interesting if the Torbjorn does come out. It would incentivize the attacking team to then play Pharmacy, which becomes a bit of a natural counter to that Torbjorn defense play. But I do expect both teams to try and go for that Tracer Soldier gameplay that they're much better known for.
And the other potential here as well, naturally out of the attacking side, is triple DPS. It's something we've seen Ardiant do a lot on this map. And they basically just exert so much pressure, you can't stop the Soldier from getting set up on the far balcony that you see just across on your screens there. So it is going to be on the defense first, Machi, and attacking will be AHQ.
And when you say triple DPS as well, it can be this Tracer Soldier Genji, but it also could incorporate a Sombra as well, which is something else that we've seen from teams. However, compositions have been decided. AHQ attacking, it's a mirror.
Yeah, Tracer Soldier.
Except for that Hannah trip.
For that pesky Ana. Yeah, but, I mean, that's quite standard on the defense here anyway, where it's quite... Oh, that's a massive pick onto Nuns and not so mirrored anymore, thank you very much. Can also pressure it out, means he's not affecting this fight as much as he would like to. The members of Machi that are trying to dislodge Dizzy have to play it safe. They can't get too far forward because they don't have the support of the backliners, nor do they have the extra damage from those DPS. Now with Kant getting picked, AHQ need only occupy the space they've created. They've got Dizzy set up. Now they can just play with the pressure he provides.
Well, see, D-Crown was doing a really good job there because despite Nuns going down early and going down again, Dizzy is so well set up here. D-Crown prevented AHQ from really gaining ground despite the fact that they were getting those kills. So as soon as D-Crown went down, you see Dizzy's positioning. He's free to do whatever he wants to, and that was now a clean cap out from AHQ.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was an uphill battle for D-Crown to dislodge Dizzy after Nuns was picked. So you can't help but feel that had Nuns stayed alive in that opening bit or had those other kills not come through, with a bit more support from the team, D-Crown probably could have done it. But that's a conjectural game that's happening in an Ultra universe because payload underway for AHQ now.
Even more forward pressure from this AHQ squad as well. You're still seeing a situation where for Machi, they haven't found the stabilization in terms of where they actually want to hold here. So a lot of annoying players in the back of their line. Rapid's trying to get them 6 ultimates now for AHQ as well. This is going to be a huge fight.
They've just got to get some connections to get the high momentum play. That's a good D-Mech and it forces the self-destruct. That's not all they can use here. They need to get a lot more out of AHQ if they really want to swing this fight. The Sound Barrier is a good way to start, but they lose Nuns and they're out of ultimates now. AHQ committing the Transcendence just to stay safe as they convert the last few kills and go for the aggressive route to make space for the payload, and they've still got an ultimate advantage.
I think for Machi Esports here, though, is the one, I guess, saving grace for them is they got 4 ultimates out of AHQ. They spent a couple themselves, but it was a worthy trade. You want to be in a situation where you have to alleviate the advantages that AHQ do have. Now you're in far more even footing where now Nuns is about to get a tactical visor. Dizzy already used, and this is where Machi pressed to go about it.
That was very early because Restia had to go forward to contest the cart point. 1 meters. Ooh, they can't afford to step off it. Rapid, good pulse bomb. And because they were kind of booking it for the cart, they're a little scattered here, and it's showing in the kill feed, folks. AHQ able to pick up the wins as they trickle onto the point, and all they lost in that was crappy.
That was well read from AHQ as well. A little bit telegraphed from Restia. You did already mention early sound barrier. You didn't see a scenario where Machi were actually set up to take advantage of that sound barrier. It was mostly over by the time they actually wanted to commit. Nuns used the tactical visor. Eric saw that opportunity straight away. He knocked back both Nuns and Kiyomi with the Primal Rage, and that tactical visor completely nullified.
AHQ have been largely unstopped here so far, aside from a few stalls on the payload itself. Machi yet to really win a fight. Good pulse bomb separates Eric from the squad, but doesn't really get any follow-ups. So now he regroups, really pressuring out Dizzy. Nun's able to dive to close that one out and gets carries while he's back there for good measure. That's what Machi have been looking for. They do lose Kant in the mix, but that is the first stabilization on their defense.
Yeah, well, Kant 1v2, I think he'll take that trade at the end of the day, especially if Nuns is the one picking up a decent amount of kills. He was one that had to swap off the Soldier onto the Genji, already building up a decent amount of charge to get that Dragon Blade, because you're on the back foot still despite winning that fight. That was important just to give you a shot because AHQ now come back in with a lot of ultimates. Dizzy nearly on take visor, double supports as well, and Machi, they're still scrambling.
Yeah, unfortunately, off that Soldier, no more Nuns guns. We need Nuns blades.
I forgot about Nuns guns.
Nuns guns. Well, Nuns guns weren't doing it. They need Nuns
guns and Swords Emporium. Let's see what he can get done.
Yeah, well, now we're into the sword section of the Emporium as the opening kill onto Rapid is exactly what Machi need. They do have to commit a couple of ults for it, but they're happy for the stabilization, and they forced the self-destruct out as well. They did lose Nuns in that. They don't draw any further ultimates out of AHQ, which would have been ideal for Machi, but they are going to survive that fight. And again, this is all just about running time off the clock, maybe getting the opportunity to fully stabilize with an ultimate advantage.
And the survival is really important here because Machi, they do understand where they stand currently in this sort of setting where, again, still behind in terms of ultimates. Kerry's had to use the Transcendence here. Kiyomi had a Transcendence used as well. So for Machi, finally getting their attacking ultimates with the Dragon Blade, most importantly, is where they need to stand. But we can't going down. AHQ, it's can't push time again.
Yeah, and it means there's very little pressure that can come onto Dizzy aside from D-Crown here. So matching the sound barrier is good for AHQ because now they can just kind of absorb that initial aggression and put it back on themselves. Great kill onto Nuns, plus the tactical visor is just clearing the way for the card as they close out the kills. The respawns will come in for Machi, but this is now their last chance to fight.
And the story for Eric has been so good because he had such consistent pressure onto Nuns. Doesn't matter if he's playing the Soldier, doesn't matter if he's playing the Genji, and now the Dragon Blade is the only thing that can save them.
Plus the self-destruct will at least give them some space, but great pick on Restia. They also will need to be able to match this Transcendence that Keres has available. That's the self-destruct. Nuns gets picked. That's unfortunate. No conversion off the self-destruct, and the Transcendence comes out from Kiyomi too late to save D-Crown to bring the Primal Rage back to the table. And now No Talk back in the mech, but instantly pressured out because Dizzy is untouched thus far. They've got one last ditch attempt with this Dragon Blade. What can they get? It dies to Eric. They're gonna get nothing for it, and from here on out, it's all stall. Machi, they can run more time off the clock, but it's gonna be unlikely that they stabilize even as they catch Crappy with the tactical visor on Dizzy, with the Transcendence on Keres, even with this Primal Rage on D-Crown, it's not looking good for them, and the tactical visor looking to close out these last few, keep these members stuck in the base, and Pulse Bomb from Rapid for good measure. Less than a meter to go, very few members remaining for Machi. It's really just the Mei on the point, and that should be the kill and the secure for AHQ.
You got to commend Machi for buying the amount of time they did at the end there, but at least you look at the AHQ side. What were the successful targets here? Look at this man on your screen. Eric has to be the guy to talk about. Dizzy looked good, but he looked good because of Eric. Eric opened up so much space for the team. Every time Nuns wanted to do anything, Eric was on top of him straight away. The target prioritization from Eric on Winston was effective bar none. It was just so good every single time. You look at the kill feed, if you go back and any point Nuns died, Eric was probably the one that killed them.
The thing that has to be fairly said though is actually Machi did run a significant amount of time off the clock. They got the one good hold at a point. They really stalled up AHQ a couple of times there, and then they did actually make them fight for quite a long time to get the cap over. It ultimately went over, but for a team that went basically uncontested on point A, it was a fairly clean cap, even as Machi really fought hard, plus a very, very uncontested streets phase. To run the clock down to only a minute and a half remaining when the cap came through is nothing short of massive for Machi, because we know full well how quickly they themselves can get that cap. So now actually the pressure is on AHQ to get a really good defense here somewhere. Otherwise they're going to go into time bank behind Machi.
Well, the thing that Machi played quite well was the objective pressure rate. They understood exactly what the win conditions were on the AHQ side, and that was reflected in a lot of that C defense. They were behind for much of it. They were in a situation where actually AHQ were ahead in terms of ultimates. They had all the win conditions they needed to get the card across, but for Machi, they were able to find the picks. The big one has to be Kant getting Dizzy and then succeeding into a double kill with Nuns getting the kills as well, charging up that quick Dragon Blade that ultimately he didn't really get a chance to use, but those were a string of fight wins that really helped Machi get the time.
Oh, this is mind games here from Crappy. He's setting up the turret because he's expecting that they will assume a Torbjorn but dive for the balcony rather than take the push up the stairs, and it seems to be a good read because that may well be exactly what happens here.
Well, the good thing is, Kiyomi pushing up here solo, he's going to have to contest that turret by himself. Meanwhile, for Machi Esports, they got to make sure that top right section is contested.
And that's the turret going down, thanks, like you said, to Kiyomi and Kant going around the side. They've got the triple DPS as well, so that means Kiyomi is able to be set up on that balcony, which is pretty ideal for them, because Nuns and Kant are still applying pressure. They need to get the kills, though, and without No Talk's mech, it's a little bit harder. They've only got the one healer. These low health bars cost them a lot, and now unless Nuns is able to pull out something big, he's trying for it.
He gets
Dizzy. There we go. Had to wait for the reload, but they need a little bit more than that still, because they lost No Talk in the mix, and they're actually a little thin on numbers here.
Well, they just got to get a few more members on their own team as well as the other team. They have to be able to wait for the respawns, reconsolidate their team, and then continue the picks on them because they have triple DPS, they have the damage to get it done. Just got to set up Kiyomi one more time and have Nuns on the back line against Dizzy.
He's actually a little split off here. They're able to regroup, and Eric is trying to contest these members, but now actually Machi is really well set up. This is very hard for AHQ to contest. That being said, Machi do need to get the pressure onto the point itself. They finally start going, but No Talk got slept for a moment, and they've lost Kiyomi. Doesn't matter that they picked the turret. They need to pick the members. And now here's the Dragon Blade from Nuns, looking to do just that. That's Dizzy. That's one of the ones they were after, but has to respect the nano boosted Winston. Low health, able to scrape away.
Eric's great.
Not quite, unfortunately, and Machi unfortunately getting beaten back as they finally go for the commit, maybe just hesitating a little too long.
Decision making, the calling there was just perfect. Kiyomi was on the back line on the high ground that you can see where Rapid kind of is here now. 1-2 punch from Eric and Rapid takes him out. Then you have a situation where Nuns wants to commit with the sound barrier into the Dragon Blade. That happened. Dizzy went down. Eric had his number again. Nano boosted as well into the Primal Rage. He's always on the correct targets, always knocking out the win conditions. Kiyomi and Nuns down. Machi don't have anything else to win with.
Eric and Rapid are like this buddy cop duo, right? Like, we often talk about the 2 DPSs plus the Winston, but in the case of AHQ, honestly, between Eric and Rapid, they're constantly setting each other up for kills. It's like this alley-oop situation. Now they've got Dizzy set up as well. Rapid able to get the solo kill. And again, Machi are just kind of getting beaten back here as the pressure on Kiyomi means here's the retreat. AHQ are going to go for a route, and I think rightfully so as well. Armor Economy online as well. Committed the Molten Core into that, and now there's only over a minute for Machi.
It's smart to dodge the Molten Core there. Don't want to directly fight into it. In fact, Crappy got a number of kills in the middle of that Molten Core. It's interesting you bring up the Tracer Winston combo, because we've commonly, at least in Season 1, commended Bacon Jack and Jongi for that combo. Now it's about Eric and Rapid.
Exactly. That is exactly what's going on here. Rapid and Eric have taken notes from the Bacon Jack Jongi. And by the way, that Bacon Jack Jongi book was enough to steer Flash Wolves to a Grand Finals victory.
Dizzy playing sneaky here. Oh,
looking to get the catch on camp, but doesn't quite throw out the rocket. Able to lose the turret there. Kiyomi picking that one up is good positioning for them. But again, Machi just getting hard pressured. They've only got the one heal, and the sound barrier doesn't save enough members. Again, Eric shutting down the win condition of ulting Kiyomi. And they use the self-destruct to just mess up Machi's positioning. Now they are separated out. They don't have the positional control. And their members are low and on the wrong side of this fight to successfully retreat. Everyone's going to be safe from the self-destruct. Machi getting themselves a third. But they need a lot more than that because they don't have the numbers. Nuns goes down before he can Dragon Blade, and again it's Eric doing the honors, and with 10 seconds it's not looking good for Machi.
Eric again, you got to be able to say it, because Nuns, every time he dies, you got to check who kills him. Usually it's got to be Eric, and once again, you're in a situation, where's the Dragon Blade? You're still waiting for it. Every time the Dragon Blade has come out, he's been taken down. Even when he doesn't have the Dragon Blade, he's been taken down, and now they need it more than ever.
Can got the overtime for the team, and this is their last chance to make it count. They've got ults for it, but they need to make them work. Nuns goes down to the tactical visor, and all he got was carries. That is not enough for Nuns, unfortunately, and the guns are better than the blades this time around, as it's Rapid and Dizzy all across the kill feed to secure the point. Full holding Machi after fully capping out themselves.
The unsung hero of that, also you have to be able to commend Crappy, because he stayed alive. He never really had a situation where he went down, kept the armor going for the rest of his team, and that ultimately led to AHQ. Everything combining together. Great place from Eric, great place from Dizzy as expected. That's what you need to win.
And here's that setup that we were talking about. It was the pressure from Eric and the upfront damage he was doing that allows Rapid to go in and get those 3 kills that, as it turned out, earned him player of the game. I mean, if you want a direct example, folks, there it absolutely is. And with that, I mean, AHQ, it's pretty well deserved, right? That's a 2-0 so far in the series win for them. And that was on Machi's pick, which is a map they're really solid on.
And it's, you know, the comparisons between AHQ and Flash Wolves are quite apt in that you can now see why. This is a team that beat Flash Wolves, and they still look like a team that can beat Flash Wolves if they play Flash Wolves again today. This is an AHQ squad that are performing much better than normal, and certainly the best we've ever seen.
Well, that's the thing. It's the AHQ that beat Flash Wolves just last week. And that's the thing. Look, AHQ, I will be completely upfront, they've actually struggled since they picked up their first loss to Hong Kong Attitude halfway through Season 1. From there, really, it was their performances in the first 2 round robins that had earned them the spot still in playoffs. It was hard to dislodge them from 3rd place, and then they didn't get a chance to make it to finals. This is, at long last, the resurgent AHQ. Let's see how they did it now. Jumping into a replay on Numbani. This was on their own attack.
All right, so this is going to be starting things out rather quickly here. Nuns going down to carries. Now, look at where D-Crown is playing here. You've got to commend the tanks from the Machi side, because they did a great job of suppressing Dizzy. Every time Dizzy wanted to take position on the high ground, D-Crown and No Talk were there. It was only when Cant went down, which was in the time that D-Crown and Cant were on the low ground, this was when things start to really turn around, because No Talk loses the mech. Suddenly D-Crown's by himself. He needs the Matrix to stay alive. He tries to make the hero play on Dizzy just to keep him contested, but it's not enough at the end of the day. But you do have to say, that was correct, all things considered, because what they were trying to do is, if you can keep Dizzy at bay, you don't lose anyone else, eventually Nuns respawns, and you're back to 6v6.
Exactly.
So they had the right idea.
They did, and that's the thing, and I mentioned it in game, you can't help but think that, you know, with all of the members alive at the right moment, Machi probably could have dislodged Dizzy. I mean, look, the fact that D-Crown kept the pressure on for that long, first of all, lacking the extra DPS out of the Soldier, and then a little while later, he didn't have his co-tank and no talk. They also lost one of the healers, and he still held it down long enough for some respawns to come in. They were never any better than a 5 versus 6. It was always going to be an uphill battle, but in that situation, in that uphill battle, most of the team was doing everything exactly right. It's just that all of AHQ was doing everything exactly right.
And I think, you know, again, the defining factor was that Kant went down while No Talk and D-Crown were uncommitted to the high ground, because you got to sort of rotate there. You can't always be on the high ground. You got to keep Dizzy contested, then jump down, then jump back up. Let's take a look at the next replay now, a little bit further on as we're into the C-cap.
And this is where Machi started to get some solid wins. This is where AHQ lost most of their time, and I believe they start getting it back underway here. Again, it's off the back of the pressure out of Eric, and actually this time it's he that's applying the pressure along with him, making sure that can't do too much to contest it, keeping them safe from things like fireballs from Kiyomi. Then as the fight gets committed in earnest, you see Nuns go down to Eric before he can use the Dragon Blade, and again, it's that common theme. This is where they're suddenly able to convert kills. They'd already banked up the ultimates, but they picked the priority targets when necessary. They went in on Nuns just before Kant was able to rejoin the fight. And again, they were in this situation where the best situation for Machi was a 5 versus 6. They never got anything better than that. AHQ were constantly putting them on the back foot.
And the key word there is priority, right? Because Eric chose Nuns in a situation where Nuns had to Dragon Blade. That was the only weapon they had in stock to be able to use to win. And it was completely nullified. Let's get into the next replay, which is going to be on, it's Machi's attack, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, and it's their final attack as well. They're off to a decent start. They kind of had the setup, and here's the thing. If Kiyomi was able to deal with Eric here, if they didn't get so badly split off, it would have been a different situation. But Eric had the primal rage. He was happy to deal with Kiyomi and Kant, and did so phenomenally. Then it's all just about splitting apart the members of Machi. At this point, they are scattered. They have not been able to regroup, and part of it was Eric splitting the DPSs off from the rest of the team, and more importantly, not dying when that happened. From here on out, it's just AHQ in the driver's seat.
Really important there. Again, you got to look at the target prioritization. Eric goes into Kiyomi, take out the Soldier. This is a triple DPS offense. What are the strengths of triple DPS? The damage output. So where do you go to take out the damage? Kiyomi first, because he's by himself. He's trying to set up on high ground on the other side of the map. Then you go for Nuns because he's the next easiest target. You're not really going to get Kant easy because it's Tracer.
Exactly.
So you got the two other targets you really got to take down. If 2 out of your 3 DPSs are dead in a triple DPS composition, you're done. That's your attack over.
Exactly, and that's the thing with the triple DPS is you can lose one and sometimes still pull it off, but it's going to be with out and out aggression. And the other great thing that Eric did, look, I guarantee going in for that, he wasn't actually expecting to get a kill. He just wanted to zone them out, and he drew Kiyomi and Kant away. And that's the thing, even if they hadn't died, those 2 DPSs were off the table for long enough that the rest of the team could have done the work. Frankly, killing Kiyomi was a bonus, but it was a bonus that made it a landslide victory on the defense rather than just a straight by victory for AHQ.
And it's interesting you talk about the fact that, you know, even if he doesn't kill Kiyomi there, he buys a lot of time. That actually is useful in and of itself, as long as he doesn't die himself. As a Winston, taking care of the I guess the most important target there, in which case was Kiyomi getting damage down from long range. That's enough to really give AHQ the time and space for a guy like Dizzy to shine.
And it was well held.
So many kills, but that's going to be now 2-0 in the lead for AHQ in the series. Map number 3 is Assault, and it comes up very soon. Can Machi bring it back? We'll have to find out right after this break. Thanks for sticking through that break with us as we're about to now head into map number 3 of the series. AHQ taking on Machi. So far a 2-0 lead comfortably for AHQ Esports Club and Machi. They're going to be able to bring it back into Assault. Otherwise, not at all.
And it's looking a little rough for Machi just in general, right? Not only is there this current match at hand where honestly AHQ have such control over every single one of these games, they're also in this really tough position in the grander sense. Like I said, they're fighting to avoid relegations. And I touched on this at the start of the match, right? You've got these 3 Taiwanese teams, Flash Wolves, AHQ, Machi, and they've tended to be ranked in that order as well. By the way, the pick is, of course, going to be Horizon Lunar Colony out of AHQ for the Assault. But the thing is, right, for Machi, they're fighting to avoid relegations, but there's also an amount of national pride going on here. Of these 3 Taiwanese teams, you don't want to be the one that wasn't good enough, right? You don't want to be the one that didn't cut it when your 2 rivals did.
And that's the difficult position that Machi currently face, not just in the series, but in the standings in OPC Season 2 as a whole, and even reflected in OPC Season 1. History does unfortunately repeat itself, but maybe Machi can turn it around now because it is their opportunity to do so.
Exactly. It's their opportunity, and it's arguably their last opportunity. From here, it becomes nothing short of a massive uphill battle if they were to avoid relegations, given that they've already lost to Mega Thunder. But they have the means to do so still. It is definitely not over. It's never over until one team has 3 points.
And the great thing about AHQ coming into Season 2 is AHQ were, for many people, and this was the common thread of thought among a decent number of the OPC Season 2 competitors. When we're talking about that, I'm talking specifically about coaches here, some of the analysts. AHQ was the team that most people picked at the start of the season to be falling out of the top 3, falling out of the top 4, and saying they're not making playoffs again. Other teams are going to make it ahead of them. AHQ have a lot of problems that they had in Season 1 that are going to get exploited in Season 2. They didn't look too hot at the start of Season 2.
They did
but
not.
Now they look fantastic. They've completely turned things around. They've shut everyone up and they said, look, if you thought we weren't going to make it, this is us making it.
And the thing that's incredible about it is the way it happened. I kind of said earlier as well, it feels like they've been slumping a little bit after the loss to Hong Kong Attitude halfway through Season 1. They were able to still make playoffs. They didn't get into the grand finals, didn't get to face rivals Flash Wolves, and arguably would have probably still lost that matchup anyway had it come to that. And then, like you said, struggled a bit throughout this season. It really felt like AHQ were just a middle-of-the-pack team that were holding on to that contention, if you will, for top 4, purely because they were able to have slightly better performances out of the gate than some of the other teams. Then their resurgence came in spectacular fashion. They didn't just start beating some teams, they absolutely smacked Flash Wolves. It was a tough, close sports series, but to overcome their rivals like that was phenomenal. And that's the momentum they've carried forward. This is why we say resurgent. Though it's not just the surge, it's looking like a tidal wave.
Well, no, it's Machi's opportunity, and certainly a test to see their ability to be able to overcome AHQ now, overcome that tidal wave, as you've sort of said. And Machi, their own story is still yet to be written.
And right now, they're in that kind of bottom of the second act where things are looking a bit grim for the hero. But on the defense here, AHQ haven't got any kills just yet, and Machi have got the setup they were looking for. Now it's going to be down to the execution and whether they can get the picks they need. Losing Nuns is a little unfortunate, but they've at least got the return kill. Kant, though, struggling to get the closeout. And again, it's just the dream team of Rapid and Eric keeping the pressure on these more mobile DPSs. D-Crown,
beautiful.
Just shy of catching Kiyomi, and that's, just shy of catching Keras, rather, and that's going to be the closeout kills.
For AHQ, you're now seeing the teamwork really come into effect, protecting Dizzy. This is how they won Nimbani so cleanly. Now again, you're in a position where Dizzy's doing a lot of damage, he's having a lot of impact. You look at how Hong Kong Attitude were playing their Junkrat, Dizzy can have that same effect. Now it's about whether he can get the consistency on the Riptide, the same way that Shai Lin was when we just saw Hong Kong Attitude.
They got the ultimates up as well. This is where the economy starts to kick in. The pressure from Dizzy is huge. That's a huge pick as well. To get no talk of all people, slows down the grab charge, takes all that defensive capability off the table. And this is just these members here, D-Crown and Nuns, getting really isolated. They get the one kill on Dizzy, but he's going to be able to regroup with the team in plenty of time.
And that is the death trap that AHQ set up. You want to go into the, what is it? I don't even know the name of that sort of building to the right there, but you
Generic Room 5.
Generic room inside. No, it's got an actual name. I think it's Hydroponics Bay or whatever it is. But you want to go in there. You're going up against a Junkrat composition. Dizzy's having the time of his life in there, chucking concussion mines in, throwing grenades in. Everybody melts.
Speaking of everybody melts, they've got the ultimates to do it again. They've also got the self-destruct for zoning. Honestly, Machi are very much behind the 8 ball right now. And that... Oh, jeez. Dizzy. Oh, man. Remember when we were watching...
Oh, this is disgusting.
That's just nuts. Remember when we were watching the Junkrat on Horizon earlier, and it was... It was Shai Lin. And
King's Row, I think.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, he plays Junkrat like a Tracer because he is a Tracer player. Dizzy's a Soldier player. He played that like Soldier. That was just a Helix rocket right into the team.
That was the most beautiful Helix rocket ever as well. It's that's what you wish a Helix rocket could do every single time.
If it could kill 3 people at once.
Oh, man. And then straight into Winston, baby Winston's bedroom as well. As just the damage is insane. And now this is Machi getting caught. Same trap they've already been caught in previously. Dizzy just used Riptide, already on 83%.
Look at what Machi have had to commit to this as well to keep D-Crown alive. He had to get nano boosted, Zarya bubbled, sound barriered, and they're only just getting into the fight now with the Meteor Strike. It needs to convert kills. All they've got so far is feed, but that's what they need. Well, it looks good on the kill feed, but that's only a Riptire. Getting the kill on Rapid is the one they actually need. The stall tools are still here from Eric, but there's the grab that they've been needing as they start to catch the members in. They do lose Kans and Kiyomi in the mix, but those respawns are thankfully close for them, and no talk on this point with a ton of charge should be Machi finally being able to break this defense from AHQ.
AHQ not quite out of this one just yet. There's a couple members still alive, a couple members that can still contest, and importantly, I was going to say Dizzy still has the damage, but unfortunately that damage is gone.
Yeah, and getting the kill on Crappy as well. They actually didn't quite close out on Hihi's mech earlier. He was able to stabilize, but they kill it anyway, and that makes it now a stagger kill. They're actually quite close to another grab. They have the ultimates to try and slow. That's a huge pick on Rapid.
Yeah, that's going to slow things down for AHQ. Now, the important thing that actually happened on A was the Death Blossom from Nuns, which, by the way, is nearly up again. Not only did it kill the Riptide, which would have really ended the push, but it really killed other members as well, and it stopped AHQ from getting that defense on there. And once again, Nuns is the anti-Riptide.
Yeah, that's really huge to shut that down because that was the one swing tool they had, and the kills all come up. Machi now still holding on to the swing ultimates like the Death Blossom. Now the grab available. Gonna have the Earthshatter as well. That's Death Blossom to close out a couple more members so that they can get more progress on the point. Now AHQ waiting for some respawns before they can safely contest, but Hihi is just gonna have the gun for it and throw in the self-destruct so that those respawners can actually get on the point. It's gonna buy them time, and that's better than nothing, but they're not getting kills anyway. This isn't a stabilization, And there is that grab to catch Eric and Crappy and Dizzy for good measure, who get killed, closed out on. And that's going to be the cap now on top of the Earth Shatter for Machi Esports. 3 minutes 16, not half bad.
That's a well-coordinated offense onto B as well. Really started off by killing Rapid. Now that put things into motion for the Machi attack. That puts AHQ severely onto the back foot. One of your DPSs are down. You're playing into a 5 versus 6. Now the Machi ultimates do come online. Nuns with the Death Blossom again. What was the problem for Nuns on Numbani? He was struggling against Eric. So what? Well, this is how you deal with Winston. You go into a Reaper.
Even more guns. It's not just Nuns' guns. After his guns, there's more guns. It's Nuns' guns and guns and guns. Coming soon to a store near you.
Yeah, Emporium open Mondays to Fridays.
Can you just imagine like Reaper on a commercial? Like, we've got guns. Come down to Nuns Guns Emporium. I would not go to that store.
It sounds pretty good to me. I'll check it out.
I just want to see.
Send your photos.
I want to see Reaper. If someone can get in touch with his voice actor, I want to see him do like an infomercial.
Oh, you might get your wish. We'll have to see though. And I do want to really commend Machi and specifically Nuns again, because you have to be able to value his ability to kill not one Riptide but 2 Riptides as a Reaper player. That's dangerous. A Riptide is so close to you, you have to get in the danger zone and actually potentially risk losing your life to the Riptide to actually get that kill on the Riptide. And that's not an easy thing to do as a Reaper. And then not only does he do that, he makes sure Eric goes down, Death Blossoms are successful. Dizzy does a bit of a funny one because it's interesting when you drive the Riptide into
like
a Death
right
Blossom.
Yeah.
Like that's never going to work out well for you.
No, it's not. It's like, well, if you drive anything into a Death Blossom.
Yeah, not going to work out well for you.
Definitely not going to, yeah.
Unless it's a self-destruct, that works out for you.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad.
Drive that
You can't kill the mech, it's already dead.
I'm gonna make it deader.
What if you could
Super
actually
dead.
stop self-destruct by doing more damage to them?
Can I make the mech super dead? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like self-destruct is kind of like an undead mech if you think about it. This is getting way too ethereal now. AHQ on the attack did stall up Machi for quite a lot, so if they get a quick attack, could get a good time in the time bank here.
Also an opening headshot. This is going to force Machi back somewhat now, really restrict the angles that Machi can play this from, especially onto Nuns, who wants good angles on the Junkrat. This is very restrictive for him.
And no talk going down to the fireball from Keres to the head. That is about as rough as it gets, because that was a huge defensive tool for them. Now it's only D-Crown. He's got to defend the flankers, and he's got to keep the sidelines blocked, but it's hard to do both, and the sidelines open for that moment to get Nuns. This is already AHQ able to exert pressure on the point. They're just going to go in, hit and run, pick one, pick the next. Now they can close on D-Crown with that wide open. They're going to close out on these healers as well, with Kiyomi hard pressured and Restia about to be dead, surely. That's a fancy looking sleep dart, bud, but that should be the cap now for AHQ.
And this is Dizzy so deadly on the Widowmaker. We already expect him to be quite good. We actually said, look, Ilios, if he'd gone to a map 3, it would have been Ruins. That's when you would have seen Widowmaker from Dizzy, but he's going to get a chance to bring it out anyone onto Horizon Lunar Colony. And it's a great way to counter out a Junkrat, because Junkrat needs to be in a bit more of an open space for himself with the good angles, force the opponents into a closed space, and for Nuns, he had nowhere to stand.
They don't have huge swing ultimates, but, well, opening pick on Kant, you might just not need them. And of course, Machi have had to switch. Oh, stick on Kiyomi. Even less ultimates. They're forced to commit the sound barrier to try and stabilize in this fight, but that means it's smashed by Crappy. And it's all kills coming up for AHQ. They've still got the sidelines for Dizzy, plus now the Transcendence to keep the fight alive for themselves, and the self-destruct to make space as the respawners come in. Now it's the trickles in from Machi. Nice sleep into the back of Eric, but there's no capitalization on it. Desperate nano boost onto D-Crown, but Kant is just busy trying to deal with Dizzy. He does get the kill, but he's not in the fight while the rest of his team's getting hard pressured. Transcendence has run out, and now here's the self-destruct from Hee. They get Restia for good measure. Was not expecting that one, and they've nearly got the cap over anyway. This is desperation mode for Machi. They step off the point. Cloud9, what?
M9.
M9, yeah. M17, oh my goodness. They were 5 versus 5. They'd killed Dizzy. They had a couple of kills on the board. They could have done it. That is about as heartbreaking as it gets. Even so, we have to be fair and say AHQ with 2/3, possibly could have done it in another fight. They got about 2 minutes up on Machi now coming into time back.
I think that's the thing you have to consider is AHQ set up themselves in a position where it was almost impossible to lose. Yes, they kind of had a little bit of a fortunate take when Machi kind of gave that cap away. But yeah, Machi had 2/3 already, set themselves up to be able to come in and get that final third at any stage.
Well, this is still an uphill battle for Machi, who got very, very slowed up on the point A. They did cap it with about 30 seconds remaining, and then a quick cap on B was the saving grace. And AHQ actually had a bit of a slower cap on B all told, but a faster cap on A has given them that 2-minute advantage. Now, Machi, if they get full held on A, that would be pretty unfortunate, and it's a very real possibility.
Machi, you got to give them credit where it's due because B was such a successful take, and Nuns got to talk about this man again because he was the factor that really got it across the line. So I expect a potential Nuns Reaper to come out as well. Maybe even D-Crown wants to do it. Who really knows here? Kent's going to try and respond potentially on the Widowmaker. Decides at the last minute, not going to be the case. A Pharmacy actually has a decent run against a Junkrat, so this is a good adaptation.
Yeah, it's good pressure in general on the sightlines, just with a little bit more zoning potential. And you're right, pretty hard for a Junkrat to hit a Pharah. That's a pretty nice open with this pressure out onto Eric. They need to capitalize off it though, and Resty getting hard pressured in among it anyway, so unfortunately losing Dan Kiyomi means they have to pull right back.
This is good news for AHQ as they're kind of ignoring the Pharmacy here. They still get Kiyomi on the Mercy, and then they convert onto other players as well. So Nuns, he may be an issue, but as long as you keep him under control, you don't necessarily have to kill him as long as you can kill everyone else.
Ooh, Rapid on the moon.
Everyone's on the moon.
Everyone's on the moon, but Rapid's like
he's more on the
like,
moon. He's physically
on the moon. Yeah.
feet on the moon itself.
In contact with the moon. That's a good pick onto Crappy, and unfortunately this time Dizzy not getting those kills they need. And once again, it's really hard for him to kill these aerial members, and they're taking advantage of it. There's very few members left now for AHQ. And,
that's one way to do it.
And that means that's how you can hit a Pharah, is if you bring it down to the ground. AHQ can maybe stabilize off the back of that, and no res just yet for Kiyomi. He's desperately trying to get it in time, but he gets picked out. And actually,
99%.
I can't believe it. They're going to be able to stabilize potentially off the back of this because he's getting topped up. They're about to get the self-destruct for zoning, and Machi are trying to fall back.
It looks so good for Machi to start things off with. He had a situation where Kiyomi nearly went down. He stays alive. He's building towards that big res, which, by the way, he died on at 99%. Nuns in gets slept. This is where it starts to all go downhill for Machi. But you do expect a scenario now where if Nuns doesn't go down in something like a sleep dart, you can get some success out of Machi's composition.
That was pretty big. D-Crown had to use his Primal Rage just to kind of match Eric so that they didn't get routed, but that's a good off. Oh, Rapid. Again, the pick onto Kiyomi. Sound Barrier is in, but it may be a little late. They do pick Pihi before he can get back in the mech. No Talk can use his own self-destruct now, but he needs to get something done with it, actually. They need to get pressure on the point. Candace getting zoned out. Eric and Rapid are still in this, and Dizzy getting D-Crown with the Riptire. Machi need to fall back quickly, and they'll still have one last chance with just 1 minute remaining.
They need to get value out of this resurrection. It's starting to look like Ilios all over again, except the opposite, because back then it was Crappy looking for the res, trying to find a good res, only gets it towards the end of Ilios. Now for Machi as well, what are we going to see from Kiyomi? Is he going to get focused now? Because so far, AHQ have done a good job of that.
And that's the target priority, right? That's the one they need to be getting. But Crappy dying at the top of the fight takes Sound Barrier off the table. This is now Machi's opportunity to go. Rapid though.
Sir?
Ooh, able to duck to the health back and turns it around, but they lose Kiyomi. That could be all they need here, AHQ, to stabilize, because Machi are only just getting to the point themselves, and the tags are low, but the pick on Eric is good. Now they've got the pressure from Nuns on the backliners, on the healers. Sleep dart wide. That's an important one, and now Kiyomi can start to rejoin the fight. AHQ have to throw it all in now, and that means Restia matches with the Sound Barrier. That last, they've got the members.
Need Rocket Barrage.
Kiyomi rejoins. They do need Rocket Barrage. They lose D-Crown, and they need to commit the res here. He commits it but dies. Where's Kiyomi? There's the tempo res that they desperately need, but they don't get the Rocket Barrage this time. Self-destruct blocked up by D-Crown's bubble, and Rapid gets a good pick. They've got Kiyomi again, and Nuns is zoned out of the fight even as he gets Rapid. Now these members of the ground don't have the support of the two tanks. D-Crown can stall, but stall for whom? Because AHQ have still got pressure in this fight. They're starting to get some kills just barely, but Eric is making it hard, and here comes a Riptire. He's gonna try and jump it into Nuns. Can he catch the Sky High Pharah? Yes, it's Eric that actually does it. Can they stabilize still? Almost. Yes, they can. Machi off the point thanks to Eric's great bump, and that's going to be the full hold. 52% on point A. That's all AHQ need to beat.
Oh man, that was scary on both sides. I think Crappy's quite pleased to finally get that defense sorted. D-Crown jumped a little bit too high, just swinging on the monkey bars, forgot about the cap just for a split second, and a split second is all they needed. But wow, what great target prioritization. You've already said it, but killing Kiyomi at just the right times was so huge. And Nuns not getting any value out of the rocket barrage. It looked pretty desperate from him, rezzing without it available. That again was a big factor. And then Dizzy coming back in, Riptire, Eric picks up the kill, Kiyomi down again. This is AHQ holding on to this cap, and it looks a lot like what we saw in Ilios with AHQ never letting go.
And if I've got to pin one key difference between both of these teams, it's not just that little extra cleanliness on AHQ's positional play. It is predominantly that target prioritization, because they are going after the exact person they need to kill at that exact moment, and they're getting the kill across the line too. Machi, on the other hand, they're trying to select certain targets. They're trying to get the right targets at the right times. But for the most part, it feels like they're just going to take what they can get. You need to do more than that against AHQ, because this is a deadly team right now.
And the problem here, it extends again, because what lost you this A cap in the first place was Dizzy sniping on the Widowmaker, Nuns on the Junkrat, not getting the angles, hiding in a corner where you can't be effective at all. At least with more shielding here, you may be much more well protected. Torbjorn turret with the Orisa. This might just be the composition Machi need to hold on.
Yeah, at least this time around, they largely blocked Dizzy's sightline, and there is that turret to exert the pressure. And plus as well, the Orisa puts a lot of zoning down with just the amount of bullets she can fire, but Dizzy's still able to find some sightlines.
Zoning seems to be the game plan here, because that's what Nuns achieves onto the Junkrat, that's what No Talk achieves with the Orisa as well, and in a way, Restia the same thing on Torbjorn with this turret. But as soon as AHQ get the good surround, that's when Machi's defense should be falling apart.
And nearly getting the closeout on Can. They're trying to get that one, able to retreat back to the team.
Good Bionade.
Yeah, fantastic to save him there. That actually delays AHQ's setup here, gives Machi a window to strike back, but that window's now gone. Ooh, good pick on the Dizzy, but D-Crown quite far forward. That's actually an opportunity for AHQ, but catching Rapid with the mine. That's beautiful. I just love like the car sounds as well that go off with it.
Yeah, and it's the flavor of that is fantastic. I like to call it the car bomb. It's called concussion mine, but car bomb sounds so much more apt.
What are you talking about? He's Australian, not Irish.
Oh wow. There's a history lesson for the youngins.
Really sorry for any Irish viewers right now. It's okay, I'm Irish. Carroll is an Irish last name. AHQ, just again though, going in the setup. This time they're going to have to wait out this Molten Core, but they pick D-Crown while that's happening. That's really big. Now once the Molten Core is down, they have a real opportunity to go. In fact, not wasting any time, and Rapid double with the Pulse Bomb, picking Restia and his creation. Rapid is going to go down for that though, as he was slept pretty handily. They are struggling to keep the tanks topped off. They need to convert these kills, but getting the pressure onto Nuns is what they need. That means he can't get the Riptire out. Good flank indeed. Transcendence from Kerry stabilizes the team now as they have the numerical advantage, and they're nearly there. They only had to beat 52.2%. AHQ, the last kill will be Dizzy on the Widowmaker as he rejoins the fight, and it's the only one they need to secure it. 3-0. AHQ well ahead of their Taiwanese counterpart.
And AHQ adapted so well in the middle that they had situations where, look, okay, it's a Torbjorn Orisa, how do we beat this? We're going to be in a situation where we just have to get this around. Helix Rocket right in the face, triple kill. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Helix Rocket has 3 rockets. That's why it's called Helix. There it is.
There you go. You figured it out. You figured it out.
3 kills, 3 rockets.
I thought it was because they spiraled like a helix.
Also that, but there's technically 3 rockets.
Well, there you go.
3 rockets, 3 wins. Look, it's a 3 in 0 as well. It's a lot of 3.
And there's 3 Taiwanese teams, and this one is currently 3rd among them. So I mean, it's just
Illuminati, dude. Illuminati.
It's just 3s all the way down, buddy. But that is indeed Machi. The 1-3 that they can't quite seem to grab is 3rd to last. Currently, they are 2nd to last, and they need to get 1 place up in the standings to achieve safety. Unfortunately, it is further and further out of their reach now. But AHQ, on the other hand, the rightful victors of that series, looking phenomenal right now, absolutely resurgent, and they are going to look very secure now in that top 4. They can still lose some positioning here if things start to go pear-shaped, but as it stands, they're looking like they're pretty set now. 6-4, they only need to beat Blank themselves to make that a secure win.
And actually, you know, they can still make third as well. They're in a position now where because they beat Flash Wolves, because they've still been on a win streak, they have the ability to actually overtake third, push Hong Kong Attitude down to fourth, and actually really contest Flash Wolves again, who are not so secure in second, by the way, because they do only have that one win ahead of AHQ. So this kind of second to third, in fact second to fifth, kind of can shift quite rapidly. The only big difference now is when you look at 7, or rather 6, 7, and 8, that's when things are a little bit more, I would say, solid in terms of standings. It's a lot more difficult for Mega to climb up, a lot more difficult now for Machi to climb up, now taking that loss.
It's even hard for Blank to climb up as well, and we were talking about this a little bit before. Look, Blank can still make it into that top 4, but it's going to involve beating out Flash Wolves, beating out Hong Kong Attitude, and probably beating out AHQ as well. And that's also assuming that Hong Kong Attitude lose to AHQ. The moment anything doesn't quite fall the right way for Blank, they aren't going to make top 4. And that would actually mean it's AHQ upward that are secure in playoffs. Let's take a look now at some replays of Horizon Lunar Colony. See how it all went down. There's too many L's in that name.
This is going to be Machi taking the long way around across the hydroponics bay, hydroponics lab even. So look for a potential. This is, again, Nuns on the Reaper has to be the talking point here, because he's one that really opens up the plays for Machi Esports. Look for Machi to try and really make it onto the cap, and this is where a lot of the trades sort of come in, because for AHQ, they understand the game plan here. When Machi finally do actually make it onto the cap itself, that's where Nuns and the Reaper really get the work done. That's when he had the Death Blossom as well. And so Reaper shutting down the Dizzy Riptide with the Death Blossom itself, but AHQ did a great job of preventing that. But eventually, Machi do get on the point.
And that's the thing, it was actually that target prioritization again from AHQ that was seeing them win a lot of those fights. Picking out Nuns when it was most important, picking out No Talk as well on the Zarya to take the Graviton off the table, to take those defensive tools of the barriers off the table. And it was finally Machi able to get those ultimates up that got it over the line for them. And that's the thing, right? For AHQ, yeah, look, they were playing well, but the nature of the beast with that team comp is eventually it's probably still going to overpower you anyway, unless you happen to really keep a lid on exactly those two players the whole game through.
So now you might see, I think this is actually the play that actually is quite successful for Machi. Good surround, by the way, early start from AHQ. This is the kind of, this is where they should have expected to get a kill into D-Crown. So the fact that D-Crown stayed alive off the back of Restia with the sound barrier as well, that was really important for Machi to continue this. And this is now where you're going to see the Death Blossom play that really sets the standard for Machi.
And the unfortunate thing, it was expensive for them to keep D-Crown alive. So stabilizing with the Death Blossom off the sheer kills was huge for them. Getting the Riptire out of the table and Hehe's mech meant now the team could start to go a little bit more uncontested. And that was the grab that was at last able to come up. So AHQ ran fairly even for a little while here, but now they were in this position where they didn't have the right members to go diving onto the point, and they weren't able to fight on the point itself. From here, it's No Talk with that charge built up, and Nuns on the Reaper that are able to get high damage onto these individual members trying to step onto the point. Even moving roughly as a 3 isn't quite enough under the amount of damage those two can put.
You kind of mentioned as well, it's expensive to keep D-Crown alive, but so critical. The fact that he didn't die there was part of the reason that push was so successful, because had they had to reset again, which would have been very hard, if D-Crown dies in that position, all 5 of the Machi members are actually way out there, all in the hydroponics area, near even the defenders spawn. They're just totally out. How does D-Crown now get back to his own team? He's a Reinhardt. He can't just charge right back in there. He dies again. So keeping him alive, that's what won them the fight.
So now onto their own attack. AHQ were able to do it much, much quicker, and a lot of that was just Dizzy's sightlines here. Kerry's getting the opening pick on No Talk was, I'll be honest, it was a bit of a lucky break. You've got to expect those fireballs, but to get like all of those shots onto the head of the Zarya, he got through the bubble as well. Like, it's phenomenal. And from there on out, the sightlines are wide open. You lose that extra defensive tool. D-Crown can only pop the shield up in one direction, so he takes the damage option, which was absolutely the right thing to do. You've just got to go all in on trying to get counter trades, but unfortunately wasn't able to pick any up, and AHQ were able to get control of the point very quickly.
And Dizzy did a great job of threading the needle onto Nuns as well, because that's one of the good counters of Widowmaker. You can take out a Junkrat with a lot of efficiency, really sort of balanced sightlines. Junkrat wants to have sightlines we can lob grenades directly at you. Widowmaker also wants to have similar sightlines. Take a look at the next replay now as we head to B.
And this was similarly AHQ just getting it done so quickly. There was this really unfortunate moment though here where Machi was able to start to stabilize a little. So initially the kills come through very quickly for AHQ, but now it starts to get a little bit more expensive for them. Kiyomi is able to commit a kind of last-ditch nano boost onto D-Crown as he respawns. That actually buys a significant amount of time. Like I said, it means AHQ started having to commit ultimates. You'll see the Transcendence come out here from Keras to save him and Crappy. Kant had good target prioritization on the backside to take Dizzy out of the picture. And now they actually had a bit of a semblance of control over the fight. They were starting to get some respawns in. He only got one with the self-destruct rather than a big team wipe. But then the unfortunate thing happened where Rapid and he stepped off the point for a crucial split second. They had all the numbers there and they were going for a rout on these members. But the last man stepped off while the last man of AHQ, instead of retreating, was still on the point.
You gotta, you know, as much as you don't want the if, buts, and maybes in there, you have to have consideration of the alternative scenario where had that cap continued and Machi continued to break down, shave off the time before the AHQ attack. Machi had a situation in timeback where actually their defense was pretty solid for the most part. It got broken eventually, but that's kind of the eventuation you expect AHQ to reach. But for Machi, if they had a little bit more time, they may have had a much better timeback. Let's take a look at the player game now. No surprise here. This is my exact pick as well. I wouldn't want this on anyone else.
Exactly. I mean, to kind of touch back on what we had been mentioning about this guy, a lot of it was the dream team between him and Rapid, but that's the thing, right? Half the time it was him setting up the kills so that Rapid could close them out. That's the Winston doing huge work. The other half of the time it was Rapid getting some upfront damage and Eric seeing the opportunity to go in and capitalize and get the kill as well. The Winston play was so clean. At no point did he overextend. At no point was he caught out. Everything was measured and calculated and it had a huge impact.
Yeah, if anyone is learning Winston, if anyone wants to know how to play Winston at a really high level, all you got to do is watch Eric on Numbani versus Machi. The decision-making there was absolutely perfect, so clean. Everything he did was just on point. He enabled the rest of his team. He did his job extremely well, and Dizzy had a great time. I mean, if you're a great soldier like Dizzy, you want a great teammate like Eric to have your back as well. So that is part of the reason why AHQ right now looks so effective. And by the way, that also opens up Rapid and gives him a lot of space to play with.
Exactly, and that's the thing. They tend to not be running this Doomfist so much right now. They're also not really running a Genji. They've only got the Tracer and Winston as that kind of...
They don't have a Genji player, so...
Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly. That's why, right? But what that means is you've only got those two parts of the diving team, which means it has to be so much more coordinated than the teams that are running the three of them. Yeah. Like, for example, Ardian do that a lot. Flash will still do it a considerable amount. And they're using the D.Va more often than not to put pressure on someone else altogether. They're not actually using the D.Va as part of the dive. So the fact that it was going off so much was super clean. Now jumping into an interview with Eric from AHQ.
好，那我这边有几个问题要问你哦，就是目前呢，你们就是排名，他们好支持你哦。现在目前呢排名第4嘛，那你们有没有信心继续稳居第4前4，然后进入季后赛
So what's your plans now?
有做好准备
Stay in
吗？
4th.
每一场一场来啊，对吧？
Well, we're sort of taking it match by match at the moment.
这样，好，加油。那你这边？
然后我这边是想问说，有听说 A 区好像有对于个别队伍有所特别的琢磨嘛？
So I've heard AHQ
其实Eric 你的温斯顿有特别
have some specific strategies against teams.
做发挥。
And your Winston today
因为我平常不太看其他队的比赛影片，所以
had some good performance against you. Eric says
要去盯原式嘛。
Eric says, I didn't really do anything too particular today, but I made a note of specifically looking out for Genji. That's part of the job as a Winston player.
这边就是想问说，
好热情哦。
这边想问说，就是也可以让很多队伍都有使用蓝鹰这角色，不知道。
So a lot of teams are playing Ryan now.
Eric， 你对于蓝鹰
how do you feel about that? Are you going to play some Ryan as well?
不用玩，太废了。
I feel like I'm not going to play any Ryan. I feel like we don't need it right now.
没什么用啊。
I feel like it's not as useful as Winston.
要你出蓝鹰这部分的事情。
基本上我是不太想玩，可是
I actually don't really want to play it, to
要
be
练的话也
honest.
是可以。
了解，
好，
谢谢，
好，谢谢哦。再次呢，恭喜 AHQ 呢
So it is the
获得这场
post-match
比赛的
interview
胜
with
利。
Eric and
那
kind
最
of
后一场比赛
mirroring
呢是
some
由
thoughts I've
Megan 呢
had.
对上 Eric，
I'm
还有休息一下
personally, and I'm
马
sorry
上
to the
回来
Ryan fans out there, but I'm not a huge fan of Reinhardt still in the current meta because I do feel like you don't look, you can have some big power plays like a big Earthshatter can really turn things around, but otherwise Winston all around, you can see, especially with a guy like Eric on the Winston, with Jongi's another great example, Republic from Ardian, another great example. The kind of things you can do there, the kind of utility, the kind of mobility, and just having all-round presence, you can never get that on Reinhardt.
Yeah, and the mobility is the big factor. The teams that are able to maximize that are the teams having a lot of successes. There are some exceptions. There's a Ting who's got these great Reinhardt performances and also a good Winston. So Winston really is still top dog for these main tank players, and Eric among the best.
Right, let's take a look at the current matches for the day now. Hong Kong Attitude with a 3-0 against Liberty Supreme. We've just now finished AHQ Esports Club against Machi Esports and another 3-0 victory. And to round out the night, when we come back, it's going to be Mega up against Ardian. So that is what we've got to look forward to for OPC action. Don't go anywhere. It all happens after this break.